Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life. Hi guys, thanks for joining me. Today I have Terri Johnson on. I am so excited. This is actually my first time talking to Terri as well, even though, holy cow, I've heard her name forever. She's in the event planning space. She's doing such marvelous things. And before COVID, she had this wonderful conference called All Things Silhouette that she did in person. And so today we're going to talk about how she got started with that, how she got started with Silhouette, and then how it's transitioned and how she's doing those retreats now. I know some of you, well, all of you are probably crafters and makers, and maybe some of you have already attended this conference and want to hear what she's doing with it now. Thanks, Terri.
Oh, thanks, Carina, for having me. I'm excited. You mentioned that and it is the first time that we've met, but we were always probably at Silhouette Summit together. I've been there every year except one.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know. Yeah. I can't believe we never met.
That is funny that we've never met. Silhouette throws this thing for bloggers, designers, and people who are purchasing retailers. And that is so funny that we've never met.
Right. Exactly. I've been there. I only missed it when I was going through cancer treatment, but other than that, I've been there every year. So, yeah. So let me just tell you a little bit about how I got started. I have sewn since I was a young girl. Nobody around, my grandmother sewed, but nobody else around me sewed. And that was in the olden days when we had sewing classes at school, and I took every one that I could. And so I just continued to do that through the years. I've always enjoyed crafts and sewing. But when I had two daughters, I particularly got interested in and began sewing for them. My husband was in the Navy and was deployed a lot. So I took classes on how to sew, smock, make heirloom garments for them. And so that was kind of my beginning. And he was, like I said, gone a lot. So I started working at a little smocking shop and teaching classes, and eventually over the years opened my own store here in the Northern Virginia area. In 2000, I opened a store, and it was a brother sewing and embroidery store, and we sold fabric and sewing and embroidery machines and everything that went along with it. And I had that store for 13 years. And yeah, it was an evolution. We moved from location to location, and it evolved. But during that time, and machine embroidery was pretty much the mainstay, and quilting of the store. And we had a lot of classes. That's always been my love, was teaching. Like I said, I started teaching smocking classes, and even in the Navy, as we would travel, I would always find opportunities to teach. So in my store, we did a lot of machine embroidery applique, and a lot of classes. Well, I heard somewhere, I guess online, that there were cutting machines that you could use for cutting your fabric for machine embroidery applique. So I began researching that, and there wasn't much information. Like I said, this was when the first Silhouette came out, so maybe 11, 12 years ago, something like that. I began researching it, and I found a little YouTube video on the Silhouette software. So the software is kind of what sold me, is because I could create machine embroidery appliques in the Silhouette software. Now, keep in mind, this was before Silhouette had the capability of importing embroidery formatted designs like you can now with either Business Edition or Designer Plus. But anyway, I figured out a way. It was kind of around your elbow to get to your thumb, but it worked. And I began demonstrating that in my store at my embroidery clubs, and began selling silhouettes like crazy. I couldn't keep them in stock. And so at that time, the vice president of sales called me, and he said, let me get this straight. You're a sewing store and you're selling Silhouette? And I said, yes. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, so I tried to explain to him. He didn't really grasp the concept. He said, you're not doing paper or vinyl? I said, nope, just fabric. So he actually came out, and it was Spencer Livingston, who you know, I'm sure. And that began our relationship. And so over the years, that evolved. So anyway, we began having retreats to show people. They would come, they'd bring their Cameo, they'd bring their embroidery machines. This is back with Cameo 1. And I would teach them how to do that. Well, they soon discovered that there was a lot of other ways to use a Cameo. You could do vinyl, you could do paper, all kinds of things, although they loved it for embroidery. So eventually I decided to close the store. I'm big in education. I've always had lots and lots of classes. I have an machine embroidery class on Craftsy, and, just done a lot of embroidery education, taught at national conventions. But I began to realize once I closed the store, there was not much going on in the way of education for silhouette or cutters at that time. Really none for silhouette, very little. Like I said, this was probably in, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And there was a little bit out there, but not a lot. So I began holding silhouette retreats. And just when you bring, and we stopped bringing embroidery machines. It was too much to lug embroidery machines and Cameos. So I would just demonstrate how to do your embroidery. But people started, the word got out, and non-sewers wanted to come. So we would do these retreats. And I had been a vendor at an embroidery conference in Birmingham and had taught classes there on how to cut your applique, and sold a lot of silhouettes at that time. And so those people were contacting me saying, we want something closer to Birmingham. So I kind of opened up the map and I said, what's between Virginia and Alabama? And I came up with Atlanta. So I began holding retreats they had a very nice small ballroom for, maybe 40 or 50 people. But then I began to look around at the venue, and my mind started cranking. And at this time I'd gotten more and more involved with silhouette, and I was going to the conferences and the summit, and knew there was a lot of other educators and designers and makers out there who had expertise in fields that were beyond my scope. And I began looking at the venue. They had a fabulous amphitheater that you could seat 200 people and do software classes. And so I went to the sales manager, said, I want to do a big conference. And she was a little concerned for me because she knew it was a big financial commitment. But it was kind of a field of dreams thing, of kind of, if you build it, they will come. And I had made relationships through silhouette with different educators like Lori Whitlock, and Spencer was great to put me in touch with some others, Kelly Waymont. And so that's how it all began. And then the next thing you know, we sold out with 400 people. Yeah. And we have sold out every conference we've had, every conference.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
You know what the craziest thing to me is hearing your roundabout story? Because first of all, you're in my two fields, right? You're in fabric and you're in silhouette. Those are my two fields of I just adore designing for, which is so crazy. I didn't realize you started with embroidery.
Yeah, that's my first love. And you can't see my studio right here, but I've got a 10 needle over here. I've got a baby lock over here, the dream machine. And yeah.
So fun.
I have almost as many embroidery machines as I do silhouette machines.
So for those of you guys listening, I just want to, one of the things I'm hearing is that Terri is really good at finding an opportunity in what she's doing now. She really took the thing that she loves and kept selling out on silhouette machines. And instead of being no, I am only an embroiderer, she took that thing and made it something that people talk about, these conferences, and getting a spot in this conference. So I'm good friends with Kelly. She's been on the show before, and she's talked about teaching, and she teaches at Craftsy as well too. And I love hearing her talk about how wonderful this conference is. So cool. So COVID, of course, affected live events. So tell us what you ended up doing, and then how you're thinking you're going to proceed. And of course, it's going to change, right? Because we're still navigating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So our last live conference was in November of 2019. We had one scheduled for the spring of 2020, which of course didn't happen. And let me just tell you real quick, at these conferences, like I said, we usually have about 4 to 450 attendees, and that's really capped only because of the limit of the venue. We don't have any more room, no more sleeping rooms, no more meeting rooms. But that keeps it personal and intimate. We have fabulous vendors in the ballroom: Heat Press Nation, Sawgrass, Sparkleberry, of course, Silhouette, just on and on and on. Great vendors. And we have contests and inspiration, show off your project rooms. But the real key is we have some of the best educators in the industry, and they do a fabulous job. And there's just a buzz and an excitement, and there's door prizes and fabulous goodie bags and just a lot of fun. So 2019 November was the last one. And we realized early on in COVID that we weren't going to be able to do that. So we transitioned to an online event. Now, you don't get all the personal excitement, but we've done that twice now for all things Silhouette. And we had one this past May, and we had 20 classes. And again, still about 4 to 450 attendees, participants. And they are pre-recorded classes. We had Kelly Wayment, Lori Whitlock, Melissa Viscount, Mandy Graham, Cindy Eckhoff, McKenna from Silhouette, 20 different instructors. Well, not 20 different, because like Kelly did 2 classes for us. And so a few did 2, but we had maybe 16 or 17 instructors. And they did pre-recorded classes for us. And Jared from Heat Press Nation just had a great crew. And so each morning we would have a live Zoom call with as many as wanted to come on. And usually there was 200 or 300 that joined us. We had a little challenge with the time zones because we're in the East Coast. And so they would join us for the Zoom call. Some of the instructors would hop on and introduce themselves. And then they had all day to watch the videos. They also got cut files and handouts. And then we would do another, and then my team would be on call in the private Facebook group to answer any questions that they might have for their classes throughout the day. And then we'd have another Zoom call again in the evening to answer any questions, but most importantly, to give away the door prizes. And everybody loves those. So, and again, we had fabulous door prizes: heat presses from Heat Press Nation, machines from Silhouette America. So then the attendees had 60 days to watch all their classes, because you can't get 20 classes watched in one day or retain anything, and most of them were about an hour, but some were up to 2 hours or more, depending on the topic. So we had great classes and great feedback. And in fact, Saturday was just the last day for the attendees to have their access, unless we also had a VIP package where you could purchase additional access and a private Zoom class live with one of our instructors. So that was super popular, and about half of the people took advantage of that. So also what's grown, so it's interesting because we already had about 200 people signed up before COVID hit. So most of those people transitioned to the live events. Some wanted a refund, but a couple went ahead and transitioned. So this time it was just straight up, whoever wanted to come would come. And a lot of people prefer this format because it's less expensive. They don't have to travel or pay for a hotel. They don't have to be gone from home. And a lot of people have young children, aging parents, jobs they can't leave, whatever, or they just don't want to travel that far. So it makes it more affordable and more attainable. And we have a lot of international students we would have international students in the in-person sometimes. I mean, pretty much every time we'd have a few, but we have more on the virtual event. So while there's some, and it's pretty much, I think, our original people who know what the excitement and the experience is all about, that prefer the in-person experience. But the new people, and even the ones who have been to the live ones, they prefer the virtual format. First of all, you get to do a lot more hands-on with the virtual, and they have 60 days. They can watch it over and over. They can take notes. At the live event, the classes were an hour and 15 minutes. And man, you would get in there, it was down and dirty, and then you would get out, and there were no videos. So in terms of learning and retaining and really being able to create, a lot of people prefer this virtual format. So it's interesting how it's evolved through all of this.
Yeah, that is interesting. I would say it's so funny because I love an in-person event so much.
Of
I
course.
just think it's wonderful. But truthfully, I'm able to attend more things now because there's so many virtual events. So you get to pick and choose how many, because I can only get away a couple times a year, right?
Exactly.
But virtually, if it's something's on, I'm kind of like, oh, I'll just go quick, jump on that. So are you capping your virtual, or are you allowing as many in as you would like?
We did not cap the All Things Silhouette conference. However, we do have some other events that we are doing virtually. We just finished one last night, which is our Silhouette Instructor Licensing. And I have a relationship with Silhouette. They don't create the curriculum, I do. However, they endorse us and they're great partners with us. So I have a curriculum and a program for anyone who would like to be licensed by me, not by Silhouette, to teach Silhouette classes in their home area. And we do cap those because I want to give personal attention. I want them to be able to answer questions, ask their questions, have them answered. So anything that we like the licensing, we also do retreats, like we have in September, a curio retreat for anyone who wants to learn how to use their curio. And that'll be capped at 50 people because we do set up a private Facebook group. And we are, like I said, we monitor that all day. So for the licensing this past 3 days, that Facebook group was manned from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. with 4 staff members who were constantly available to help anyone with any problems. And we even had to call one on Zoom to kind of diagnose what was going on with her computer. So, that is why we cap that, for personal attention. And so the Curio Retreat is coming up in September, and we're almost full. We probably only have about 15 spots left for that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, one last question. Where's this going? I mean, you said that you're doing so awesome with the virtual, and it's like you're bringing in tons of different people, and you technically don't have to cap them, which means more people can attend.
Exactly.
But then, of course, I'm sure you hear from the in-person people who are like,
we
missed the t-shirt contest or the walkway. We missed power. There is a power in being there.
There is.
Right?
There is an enthusiasm and excitement, a camaraderie that you just can't get virtually. So where this is going is a little fluid, partly because, like you said, we're still navigating COVID. We don't really know where that's going. I've also started an All Things Silhouette Club, where I do monthly projects online. And each month and it's focused, I'm a real believer in project-based education, that if I just pull up the Silhouette Studio software and began showing you all the icons and tools, your eyes glaze over. But if I show you, for example, we're doing stencils this month. If I show you in Silhouette Studio how you can create a stencil and then how to make something lovely with that stencil, then you are going to retain that and learn more about the software. So the All Things Silhouette Club is a monthly project club, and you get video tutorials, cut files, handouts, and again, a private Facebook group. So that is really growing. We have about 300 people a month in that. So that's going to go on. And I'm think my thoughts, don't hold me to this, but my thoughts for the future are perhaps one annual live all things silhouette conference and one virtual all things silhouette conference. In the past, we've had 2 a year sometimes. And quite honestly, I'm getting older and that's just a lot. And I think I want to maintain, like you said, that excitement. And it's going to have to be modified in terms of just a lot of things, but the format's going to have to be modified moving forward because of the venue restrictions and that type of thing. But I think that's my goal, is to have one annual live event and then other virtual events. So that way we're hopefully getting everybody that wants to participate.
Yeah, it feels like the merging of the two. You're like getting everyone, and everyone's going to be really happy because once again, those international people, not everyone's going to come over, or people who are super busy, or young kids, or aging parents, or everything that you said. Right. I love that. I think that's amazing. Okay. So if someone is wanting an update on what you're up to, where can they go to find you?
Really easy. TerriJohnsonCreates.com.
Okay, and Terri Johnson Creates, and you guys, I'm going to put that into the show notes so that you guys can link up and go find what she's doing, because you're going to want to hear, if you want to go to an online event, you're going to want to register for that. And it sounds like she's still going to cap those live events. So
I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. So at the website, there are links for the conferences, there are links for the licensing and the club. And we currently don't have a licensing or a conference scheduled, but we do have a page where you can put your name on the wait list. So then as soon as we have it scheduled, I will blast out to those people first. So it's perfect. All of Terri, and it's TERRI, TerriJohnsonCreates.com.
Thank you for spelling that. TERRI.
Correct.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being on, Terri. You guys go check that out, and I will see you guys soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.